Hello, my name is Allison Corman, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is How Do We Slow Down When Life is Moving So Quickly? And the idea of this podcast came to me over the weekend. It was really early on Saturday morning, and I was visiting my family in Long Island, and my dad needed for me to go to the drugstore to get him some medication. And it was such a beautiful day, and I got in my car, and I was driving with the windows open, and I was listening to some music, and I was on a narrow road that led to the main highway. And as I was driving, a car drove up behind me, and he was pretty close. And I looked at the speedometer to see if I was driving too slow, and I was driving at the speed limit. And because the road had so many twists and turns, I didn't want to go any faster than that. But he kept getting closer and closer to me. And as I felt him getting closer and closer, I tried to stay calm. I tried to hold my peace. But at the same time, there was something very real that was happening. I had a car behind me that would not slow down. He obviously either wanted me to speed up or he wanted me to pull over. And there was really no place to pull over. And my dad needed his medicine. And I didn't allow myself to get into a deep worry, but I was concerned. And that concern sped me up. It sped my mind up. It made my body more alert. Because if I was to stay my course, I had to deal with this person that was behind me. And finally, I hit a fork in the road, and I continued on the road, and this man went straight because he was going to the highway. And then I noticed, though, after he left, I was not as peaceful. I didn't have the same state. I tried to recapture it, but it wasn't until I left the drugstore, was able to take a walk, was able to take a breath, and get back into my car, was I able to return to the rhythm of how I wanted to spend the day, the rhythm of how I wanted to drive. And the reason I bring this up today, it just reminded me about how life is. Sometimes there's something happening in our lives that's on us, that's like that guy behind me that's speeding us up. We could have a deadline, we could have an emergency, we could have a problem with our child, we could have a financial situation, whatever it is, it's pressing. And it causes us to go quicker than we want to. And yes, how we show up for it, how we think about it, how we choose to process it is all up to us. But sometimes we do have to move quicker than we like, quicker than our mind likes to go, quicker than our body likes to go, because we have a life circumstance in front of us. And most of us don't even know what our peaceful rhythm is. If we're not aware of that place where we access peace, where we are most productive, where we are more in the flow, we're just never going to get back to it. And the more we don't get back to it, we end up serving the circumstances that happen to us instead of serving ourselves. We get more distance from how we truly feel, what our true desires are, what our goals are, how we like to feel every day. We need to be able to check back in and know how we like to function and try to keep getting back there. Again, life is going to pull us in all these different directions. But where's our center point? We're always trying to clear the worry, the problems, the stress, but we're not often asking ourselves, how do I feel good? What is the pace that I like? And then from that pace, try to hold it while we're dealing with all the things that are coming our way. And so how do we do this? How do we find our rhythm that we like? And how do we remember to check in and keep recalibrating so we don't lose touch with ourselves? So we don't not take care of ourselves. For me, it all started with little bits of time on the weekend. I would take a period of time, whether it was a half hour or an hour, and I would do something that I love to do. And at the time, it was a yoga practice. I used to love doing yoga. And when I did the yoga, I would find that reset, and I would remind myself, this is the rhythm that I love. I feel open. I feel like things aren't moving that quickly. I feel joy. I feel clear-headed. And it wasn't like I spent the rest of the day yearning to go back to a place that didn't exist at the time. I just recognized that that was the pace that I was the happiest at. And so as the week started on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and I felt myself speeding up, I was able to differentiate between my natural rhythm and what was being asked of me. The deadlines, the clients, the kids, what was speeding me up. And sometimes I would stretch during the day or do a pose during the day to kind of access that point. But the awareness alone kind of helped me know what was me and what was outside of me. So that's the first thing that you can do, whether it's running or meditating or yoga or taking a walk or doing anything that you love. Feel the joy and feel the pace and feel the peace. And that's your rhythm. You might not live there all the time, but that's your reset point. It's probably where you're most peaceful, most creative, most joyful. This awareness might help you put more of that in your life, but also this awareness is going to let you see the difference between your rhythm and what the outside world is demanding of you and what you want your choices to be. And the second thing, as you get busy during the week, as you have deadlines, if people are asking things of you, as you're speeding up, can you maintain that rhythm inside? Can you go slow? Can you not give your peace away to the stress and the worry and the anxiety? And I have a lot of podcasts about maybe and reducing anxiety and stress, and you can listen to them. And you can ask yourself, do I have to speed up here? Do I have to go at this fast pace right now? Do I have time? You could ask yourself, do I like how I feel right now? And sometimes you realize, I don't like this job. I don't like how I feel around this friend. Or other times, like most of us, these are situations we have to deal with. Maybe you need the job. Maybe you're in a marriage that works for you in many ways. Maybe your kid is having a problem, you have no choice, or your parents having a problem, you have to deal with it. And you're going to have to move quick. And it's going to feel a little tight and stressful. But at least you could remember what your rhythm is and where you want to go back. So at least at the end of the day, you could unwind a little bit. You could feel that reset point. You could try to search for it. Life is often going to be asking us more than we can give. And many of us show up because things are important to us. So we give and we give and we give, but we give at a pace that's really depleting. And that doesn't make us feel good. And even as I do this podcast, I'm sure this week I will speed up because I want to help somebody or something's important to me. But I know that if I don't go back to my rhythm at some point, I'm going to start not being as happy, not as joyful, not as peaceful, not as creative. I could get run down. But most of all, I'm going to lose a sense of myself. And then all week long, I'm just going to be thinking about what the world wants, what the world needs. And then sometimes negativity comes in. I am my best when I have a sense of myself and I'm moving at my own rate. And I suspect you have the same thing. So just try to find that point and go back to it as much as you can. And the more you go back to it, the more you're going to choose circumstances that you could be exactly that way. And the more you can go back to it, the more you're going to hold it in other situations that are stressful or anxiety provoking. Sometimes we speed up because we're stressed and we're anxious because we don't know what's going to happen next. It's not even a deadline. So we're going to be able to differentiate. Is life really asking me to speed up, or am I just stressed out because I don't know the answer? And again, then you have techniques like maybe and gratitude and patience and breath, all those things you can do. But when we don't know what's happening and we don't have our point of reference, we're just going to go wherever the wind takes us. And then we're going to end up with a life that we might not even have chosen. It's just we went with any circumstance that came our way, and we thought it was our duty to continue on that road. We forget that we have a right to be connected to ourselves. We have a right to be connected with our truth and our creativity, and most of all, our peace. And yes, I could have held on to my peace when I was driving, but I didn't feel totally safe at that moment. And so I had to be more alert. I had to keep looking behind me. I had to keep looking at the speedometer. I had to keep watching the road. I couldn't just sit there and enjoy the song any longer because I had somebody that was driving too close to me. We all know what that feels like. Life is just demanding more for us in a moment, and that's okay. And then sometimes we have a goal or a dream and we have to work all the time because we want that. Again, we made that choice. But let's not forget that place within us, because you'll find when you access that place in you, you're on your side, your team. You will have deeper peace, deeper joy for longer periods of time. And you start to choose differently because you start to see what depletes you and what fills you up. And then you end up looking in the right direction. And you see the open playing field of life because you are so connected with your true desires. You access more that's possible. You enjoy every moment so much more because you feel you. And you tap into one of the most meaningful aspects of life, being with you and getting to know who you truly are. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or A Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you can subscribe and leave a comment.